Hey everyone, welcome back to Kitchen Foundations. We are making another episode today, and we are going to make broccoli cheddar soup with bacon. In our last episode, we made some really great chicken stock, and I wanted to find a way to use some of that for you. And I thought a soup would be a great way to do that. Went to the farmer's market, got some really great broccoli. We've got some Irish cheddar here, and I've got some milk from a local farm that is not homogenized and is not pasteurized, which we prefer. So, super simple recipe, easy to do, easy for weeknights, and you can make this in about a half an hour. So, if you made the chicken stock, this is a great way for you to use it. If you did not, just grab some base and it'll be not just as good, but it'll be pretty good too. So stick around and let's make this together. All right, so we are going to start off by dicing some onion, or not onion, some bacon so that we can render the fat. We're going to use this fat to make a roux, and that is what we are going to use to thicken our soup. So to dice this, I just cut the bacon in half, and then you cut those halves in half again, and then you cut matchsticks, and then you cut the matchsticks into little cubes, and that'll give you the little lardons you need to render the fat. Here I am adding some avocado oil just to help the process along. I'm adding oil because a little bit of extra fat will help when we make the roux later. So you want to start on a medium to medium low pan. You want to brown the bacon eventually, but you want to do it in a slow way so that you can maximize the amount of fat that you render from the bacon. So after about 5 to 10 minutes, your bacon will look like this, and it'll be time to remove it. I just use a slotted spoon so that the majority of the fat that was rendered out of the bacon will stay in the pan. I don't really love using plastic utensils on hot food, but that's all I have right now, so you gotta make do with what you have. Next, we are gonna make the roux, so we are taking all-purpose flour, and we are gonna whisk that into the fat that's in the pan. So essentially what we're doing is we are making a sauce, and that will be the thick and liquid base of our soup. It's similar to making a velouté or a bechamel sauce in classic French cuisine. Basically, what a bechamel sauce is a milk-based sauce thickened with flour and butter, which is called a roux, and then it's flavored with different things depending on the type of sauce that you're making. And then a velouté is the same process, but instead of milk or heavy cream, you're using chicken stock or usually chicken stock. Sometimes veal stock, but usually chicken stock. And then we are going to add some water here. The reason that I'm using water is because we're going to add the chicken stock concentrate after we incorporate the water. You could mix some base into your water if you're using base, or you can just do it the way I'm doing it and then mix in some chicken base after the water is added. I found that it doesn't really make that big a difference if you mix the chicken base or chicken stock concentrate into the water straight into the sauce after you mix it with the roux. Sorry, something just fell. That was loud. So next we are taking our chicken stock concentrate that we made from the last episode. This is really great stuff. I highly recommend you make it. It's full of vitamins. It's got great nutrition. It's got collagen, which is good for your skin, hair, and nails. It makes you feel better when you're sick, and it makes everything that you cook with it taste better. So you just throw the concentrate into the liquid and whisk it until it melts and dissolves. And you can see the color change that it had to the sauce too. So from here, we're going to add that whole milk that we talked about earlier. It's the non-pasteurized, non-homogenized whole milk from the local farm. It has a a fat cap on top. So if you are using milk like that, make sure that you shake it to incorporate that fat into the milk before you pour it into whatever you're using. Next, we're seasoning it with pink Himalayan salt and cracked black pepper. Sorry, that's kind of hard to say. And then next, we are going into our spice cabinet, and we are using granulated garlic. And then next will be granulated onion. I like to use granulated because onion powder and garlic powder has a tendency to clump if there's any humidity in the air or in your house. And granulated garlic can do that, but it's less prone to do that. And then next I'm adding crushed red pepper. This doesn't add a ton of heat because there's enough fat in this dish, but it adds a little bit, just enough, I think. And then I'm using MSG. I know, you're not supposed to do that, but I do. It's used by a billion plus people in Asia and Latin America, and they all seem to be okay with it. So I'm going to be okay with it too. I like the umami that it adds. It almost works like chicken base, but in a different kind of way. And I like it, so I'm going to use it. If you don't want to, you don't have to. So we're just whisking to incorporate all the spices that we just added. And then we're going to bring this up to a simmer and then turn the heat down to low and just let it cook for a while. And while it's cooking, we are going to dice a yellow onion. Or that might be a white onion, I don't know. So we just make cuts into the side and then we cut across to dice it. And then we are also going to mince some garlic. So we just take our chef knife and rock it on a little bit to loosen the paper, peel it off, and then we'll cut the little root ends off of the garlic. And then the same way we did the onion, we'll make little pre-cuts along the sides of the garlic. Sorry, excuse me. And then mince it. You can do this as fine as you want. You could crush it through a press if you like. You could leave the garlic a little bit in larger pieces if you want. It's really up to you. And then here is that farm fresh broccoli that we bought. We're going to cut the root end off. And then for the size that we're making, we're just going to use half of the head because it was pretty big head. And then we'll cut more of the root off. And then we're going to save that because we're going to cut that up and use that in the soup as well. And then we're going to dice the broccoli. And you want to dice the broccoli pretty fine because if the chunks are too big, they won't really cook all the way in the soup. And it'll be not the best texture. I mean, it'll be fine. You can eat it. But I prefer my broccoli to be a little bit soft in this soup. And then we're just dicing that root end that we had. So next we're going to transfer all of this broccoli into the cooking liquid of the soup. And you could blanch your broccoli if you wanted to. I find that you don't really need to. I think that it cooks just fine in the hot liquid of the soup. So just kind of incorporate that. Towards the top of the screen, I have a 10-inch cast iron skillet on medium heat. It's starting to smoke right now, so it's probably a little bit too high. I would probably do medium-low. If I was to do this again, we're going to add some of that butter from the same farm that we bought the milk. If you notice how golden it is, it's a really great butter. I like it a lot. The pan's a little bit too hot, so if your pan looks like that, you had to heat it up to a little bit too high like I did. And then we're at our onions and garlic. And at that point, my camera died. The battery died, and I didn't realize it. So I didn't get the end of that on film. Basically, all we did is we cooked the garlic and onion until it was soft. You don't want to put a lot of color on it. So you don't want caramelized onions, but you want cooked through onions. And now we're just shredding the Irish cheddar. I don't buy pre-shredded cheese because pre-shredded cheese is treated with anti-clumping agents and stuff to keep it dry and quote-unquote fresh. But, it takes a minute tops to shred cheese. So I always tend to do it myself. Actually, not always tend. I do always shred it myself. I think the taste, the texture is 1,000% better, and it's 100% worth the effort. So next we are going to incorporate the cheese into the soup, and you have to do this in installments because if you try to add all the cheese at one time, it would clump and separate, and you'd have a big gooey ball in your soup instead of a nice creamy texture. So you do that and you basically whisk until all of the cheese is melted, and then you grab your next installment and add that, and you repeat that process, whisking until it's all dissolved. Don't try to rush this step. It's totally worth it. And also, very, very important, do not let your soup boil. A simmer is okay, but a boil will it'll separate the cheese, the oil, and the water, because you're essentially creating an emulsion right now. And if you have your heat too high, it'll break the emulsion, and the oil and the cheese will separate, and it'll get really grainy, and it'll just be a mess, and you won't like the results. I know because it's happened to me in the past. So learn from my mistake and don't repeat it. So now we're going to add the bacon that we cooked earlier. So it is going to soften up a little bit when you add it at this point, but it's not going to be anywhere close to as like chewy and mushy that it would have been if you cooked it in the liquid the entire time. It'll just create a nice little textural difference when you're eating your soup, because you'll have the creamy base, the veg that has a little bit of bite to it, and then the bacon that has a slight crunch to it still. And then next you want to taste it and adjust for seasoning. I had to add a little bit of salt and pepper, but that'll be dependent on every batch. Every batch will be different. So this is it. This is broccoli cheddar soup with bacon. All right, so there you have it. We have our broccoli cheddar soup with bacon. Let's give it a try. So first off, we get the smoky bacon, and we get the fresh broccoli, and the milk, and the garlic. So we get all the flavors we're looking for, and it's just really fresh. It's really creamy and smoky. It's everything you could want in a soup. It's like your favorite restaurant broccoli cheddar, but way better. So I really encourage you to try it. It's not that much work, and the payoff is way better. If you made the chicken stock, for sure make this. If you didn't, make it anyway. And thank you for watching Kitchen Foundations. Like, subscribe, click the bell icon. Like I said, all those things that everyone asks you to do on YouTube. And we'll see you next time on Kitchen Foundations. See you, bye.